Tails-A-Wagging. Today we are talking about how do we introduce a new dog to the playgroup. How does that happen? So one of the first things that you'll notice is we usually ask your dog to get here pretty darn early. The reason for that is so that your dog can be introduced to the other dogs as they arrive versus all the other dogs are already here, your dog comes a little bit later, and then having to introduce your dog to an already established group. So that's one of the reasons on their first day we have them come pretty early. So the first thing that we start with is we always start to do our transitions or our new dogs outside. The reason we choose outside is that it's a lot easier for the dog knowing that they have a little bit of extra space that's physically around them as well as above. Some dogs can have difficulty inside just because there's a roof and they haven't necessarily been in a building in which there were other dogs. It wasn't the vet, the groomer, or the shelter. And so it helps them to start in an outside environment. So today we're working with Rosie. Howdy ho, Rosie. This is Rosie. She is most likely an American Staffordshire Terrier. She's up for adoption with the Watcom Humane Society. The first thing we do is start her in what we call a transition pen. This is just an area where dogs can kind of hang out for a few minutes and we can just observe their behaviors. So what I'm looking at with her is I'm looking first and foremost her body language. She has an open mouth and an exposed tongue. That tells me that she's enjoying what she's looking at. Her ears are nice and relaxed. They're flopping back and forth. Notice that when she went to smell me, her ears went back and she closed her mouth. We're talking directly at her, so she gave me a calming signal of that yawn, so I'm just going to turn my back on her for a second, giving her a chance to relax. You'll also notice that her back is nice and flat. Her weight is evenly distributed, so we're looking to make sure that she's comfortable and calm before letting her out into the big yard. But she's looking pretty comfortable now. So I'm going to let her out into the group. Come on, Rosie. Oh my goodness, we don't do that. We have a dog that jumps up. We turn our back, step away, wait for 4 feet on the floor, ask them to sit. Oh, take her back, walk away. Oh, sit please. Yes. And then reward them for the sit. So now what we're going to do is just let her get used to the space. Let her smell everything. Let her investigate me. What a good girl you are. What got a treat? Yep, that got a treat. Good job. And so we'll take this time, once she's had a little bit of time to smell and to investigate, we'll check to see what things does she know. She clearly knows how to sit when we ask her to. The ground is hard, and we do that purposefully at Tails-A-Wagging so that we can clean and sanitize everything, but she might not feel very comfortable laying down, but let's see. I'll always try to start it with the lure first. I'm going to see if she'll lay down for me. Oh, she's starting to. Good girl. She started to pull her elbows down. So I'm just trying to figure out what does she know, what does she not know. Good girl. Wait. Sit, please. Yes, here. Yes, good girl. So just trying to get the feel for her, where she's at. Rosie, here. Yeah, good girl. Good. All the while watching her body language to make sure that she's feeling really comfortable. She's sticking pretty close to me, which is not only because I have treats, but she enjoys that I'm the one that's been giving her treats, so that's why. So usually we wait until the dog has gone to the bathroom. I know that Rosie peed a little bit earlier, so she's fine. But that also gives us a moment that we know that the dog has been able to have a chance to just kind of be with their own self and calm down a little bit, go to the bathroom. And then the next thing that we'll do is we're going to add a second dog. Now the dog that we choose is key. It is so important that we choose the right first dog. It's going to set her daycare experience for all eternity. We want to make sure that that first experience is good. So she's an adult female that's already been spayed, so I'm going to choose an adult male that's already been neutered that has a tendency to be a little bit on the neutral side, meaning that they don't have a tendency to be very reactive. They don't have a tendency to get a little bit hyped up. So we're going to add that second dog just to that transition area. And notice how they both put their noses to the ground and walked away. That's a very good thing. That's what you're always hoping for. First and foremost, we're making sure that she doesn't have any reaction to a barrier by seeing a dog behind a barrier. And so by sniffing the ground, that was a calming signal to say, oh, I've noticed you. Are you a threat to me? Both of them, he mirrored that behavior, and then they both walked away. So everything there was good. They mirrored each other. So we feel really comfortable that we can add into the yard. I don't want her crowding, and so I'm going to send her away. Treat. Wait for her to finish that treat. Come on out, buddy. Good job. That's nice. Now Tucker's been coming to us for a really long time, so he knows what to expect. When dogs greet for the first time, one of three things is going to happen. They're either going to sniff each other, smell what's happening, and ignore, or they're going to sniff each other and instantly start playing, or three, they're going to sniff each other and somebody's got a problem, right? Somebody's posturing, somebody's stiff with their body language. Out of all three of those, you want number one. You want sniff and ignore. We know that both of these dogs are social dogs based on their history, and so that sniff and ignore is a sign of respect, meaning not you're the boss of me, but I respect what you bring to the table, which in this case is just another cool dog. So we'll continue this process. How long this process happens depends 100% on Rosie. She dictates the process. It might take a couple of hours, it might take 8 hours. It depends on her and based on her body language, depending who she meets and how often she meets it. But that's how we introduce a dog first at Tails-A-Wagging.